We're the generation trying to build businesses and raise families. There's no manual, there's no map, just the mission to get both right. That tension between growing your wealth and showing up for your family, that's what the Invested Fathers is all about. I'm your host, Kenny Johnson, and today's guest, Chad Choquette, lives right in the middle of that balance. After losing his corporate job, Chad didn't crumble, he created. He built a business grounded in faith, family, and stewardship. From flipping homes and running Airbnbs to developing his own community now, he's showing that real success isn't about chasing more, it's about building with purpose. In this episode, we unpack what it means to lead at home and in business, how to create systems that protect your time, and why peace, not pressure, might be the ultimate profit. This is the Invested Fathers. Let's dive in.
I got a full, healthy body. I got money. I got like kids, family, wife, healthy marriage, house. Like I got all this stuff, education, background, all these things. And I'm like, I feel this weight. I should be doing more and making like I can, and not saying like, oh, I'm going to go out there and grind and hustle. It's like, but we have so much to offer the world to impact. And so, yeah, unlimited potential is definitely in there. There's like a true, authentic version of who you are to be, to impact, to change the world. And obviously, when it comes down to it, you and I both know about our faith and how the gospel is centric to that. It's like, I'm not just doing this stuff for fun. Like, sure, yeah, I am. I do like, think building. It's fun.
Right.
It's definitely part of an internal aspect of me, which I think is a reflection of God as creator.
Yes.
But, the core root of it is like for the love of souls and bringing them to Christ still.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Invested Fathers. I am so excited to be joined by my new friend, Chad. Chad, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Dude, we have sort of fast-tracked our friendship, which I feel like is the entrepreneurial way of like getting things done. Of course, I feel like we resonated kind of quickly with some values, church, family. So welcome to the podcast. Chad, let me give our audience just a quick sort of backstory of how we met, and then I'm going to have you sort of give your own bio in a way.
Yeah.
But so about a week ago, I think now, last Monday, we co-hosted an event in Greenville, and our friend Willie Coleman Willie spoke very highly of just your character, who you were, and what you're doing. So I was very interested to meet you. Also, Taylor's has been one of my markets that I have loved investing in. So when I find another Taylor's guy, I think old Kenny would have thought, oh no, competition, like sort of keep a distance. Like we don't want to share secrets or something.
Yep.
But I would say new Kenny, and Kenny that I am very happy to be, is collaboration. How can I bring value to you? So anyway, that's how we met. The event went great.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. How did you think that went? Like, what's been the feedback?
It was really good.
Yeah.
I wish we had done a little bit more on capturing data of everybody, because I wanted to reach out. My business coach and I were talking about, it's like, okay, what's something valuable that could come from the event? It's like, well, follow up, right? And we all talked about this. And I was like, I think I got like 3 more people's phone numbers, and I met like 50 people.
Right.
And I should have, worked on that. But it's hard when everybody's like, it was a little bit loud. There's a lot of people there. Everybody's like moving, you're talking through things, and then you just forget to get the number.
Yes.
It's like,
dude, couldn't agree more. The follow-up, and I went on a business trip like right after that. So
yeah, no follow-up.
No follow-up happened. And I realized like every day that moves on, it's getting colder. But to me, it was great exposure to host an event. And I'm actually really excited to do another event on a probably much smaller scale.
Well, then I won't tell you about our upcoming one then.
No, I want to hear about it. But yeah, I think I'm looking for memento on how that event sort of.
That's awesome. It was great.
All right, Chad. So I gave everyone just little bits of information, but if you would give us a little bit of the career journey, but give us where you're at, where you were, and where you are today.
Yeah. So making the first 20-something years of my life pretty short. I grew up in New Hampshire, went to private Christian school, went to Christian college in Florida, and I went overseas for a little bit to work at a Christian camp. I came back and worked at a Christian camp here, and then bought a house, got married, and got a real job, and had a kid all within like a year and a half time frame. So, or a little more, 2 years. And so life changed suddenly at that point where it was like, oh, we should settle down instead of just like gallivanting around the world and doing fun things. Because up until that point, it's like I hadn't made more than $10,000 in any year in my life, and I was like 27.
Okay.
So I had a lot of great experiences. I wouldn't give any of that up. I learned a lot, but that's kind of like a major change in my life, especially going from just working in camps and things and traveling to actually having a job. And I did like do a few jobs before getting like a more formal establishment. Not that Cracker Barrel and Chick-fil-A and being an agent aren't a real job,
Right.
but it wasn't as solid as like having a desk job, 9 to 5 set schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I ended up. That again was with Bob Jones Press. Worked there as a web developer, and that's where I had already been in web development, doing some of my dad's friends, their websites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did it more formally for BJ Press,
Okay.
and then started working for a friend on the side. And then he said, "Hey, why don't you come on full time for me?" Did that, and then I switched out of that right after COVID to another company. And so I've been a full stack web developer for like 15 years. And then I got laid off because the company was doing well.
Okay.
And so they're like, "Hey, we don't
What
need
year was
Java
that?
developers." That was 2023. So
Pretty recent.
yeah. So it's only
Okay.
been like 2 years that I've been, out on my own.
Okay.
So what got us to where we are today is like since we've been married 10 years. And since then, like I bought a house, no money out of pocket because the government funded the down payment and all this stuff. It was really cool. Then we, moved into another house, used the equity, fixed that one up. And then we moved into an apartment while we flipped a house on the side and eventually ended up where we are now. And that kind of accelerated the real estate journey. There's one like side note that what allowed me to buy that first house was when I was in college, I didn't have any credit. And you ever heard of swipe books?
Yes.
It's like those
I haven't heard that in a
sites.
long time though.
Yeah, I know. It's like, is that still around?
Yeah.
And you sign up for the different things and the trials and get points and you can like get, gift cards.
Yeah.
And some of the high ticket ones were if you sign up for a credit card.
Okay.
And in college, I couldn't get one because I didn't have any credit. I didn't have any like, working history or anything. And then on my 25th birthday, I was at the beach. We were having a beach party. It was myself, and another friend. We're both turned 25. And then we were playing frisbee. Somebody threw the frisbee into the bushes. I ran, jumped in. And then when I picked up my foot, I couldn't move my foot. I was stuck to a nail, a rusty nail had gone like straight into my foot. So my friends rushed me to the hospital. And I was like, I don't want to go. I don't have health insurance. Like, and they make me do all these tests and scans. And, I couldn't pay for it at the time. And then because of the Obamacare Act and all those different things, my dad's insurance picked up the tab like 6 months later. So it had already gone to collections.
Okay.
And then suddenly they paid it and I had a 740 credit score. And that allowed me to buy a house. Like my credit score just kept going up every year until I bought a house like 2 years later.
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of wild, like what leads up to allowing you to get some things done. So
Yeah.
that's the start of being in real estate in general, just like having your primary residence as an investment and moving every 2 years for that tax-free capital gains. Like it's
Mhm.
really amazing that you can do that. Um, then fast forward to COVID, what we had flipped a house or two by that point, and we wanted to go on vacation. Our families always picked like expensive places. We didn't have a lot of money. The funny thing is, though, I could buy a house, but I couldn't afford to go on vacation. And I was like, oh, well, Airbnbs, we always stay in Airbnbs because we have kids. What if we just buy an Airbnb and then we control the conversation and we get to go where we want? So we bought two in the same year. I moved in to the house we're at now. And when I saw my neighbor, he's like, oh, I have a condo on Lake Kiwi. I was like, well, if you ever sell your house, let me know. I'll buy it. I did that for about a year and then eventually came around. Well, during that year, at the beginning of 2021, property, we started looking for Airbnbs or properties turn into them.
Mhm.
One came up in Bryson City, North Carolina, that we like to go to.
Mhm.
And so I spent like 4 months. I'd work for my 40 hours and basically Monday through Thursday or into Friday a little bit. And I'd drive up to Bryson City and stay there for a day or two and work on this little studio apartment for like all that time and did that for like months. So it was super exhausting.
Yeah.
And we got right to the finish line. I was up there and I felt really off and I got COVID. And so I'm like up there in pain. I come home, my whole family gets COVID. It like we were about to launch that unit, but we had a 2 week delay. And during that time, our neighbor who had bought the house from is like we also closed on his house. He's the one who gave us COVID. And so all together we ended up like launching this studio, closing on his house, renovating his house and furnishing it in a month and launching it. So we went from like no Airbnb experience to like having 2 units in about a month. And that really kickstarted us into, the hospitality business.
Okay.
We continued to do flips occasionally. And then I got laid off in 23. And then we had been praying about it because I was like, I don't particularly, not that my boss was bad at all. Like I've had amazing bosses and companies to work with,
Yeah.
but I'm just like not the kind of person who really wants to be at a desk and like doing a desk job and everybody telling me what to do. Um, which is a whole side conversation. Like as an entrepreneur, you're like, oh, I want to be out from under these shackles, and then you get out there and I'm like, I just wish somebody would tell me what to do next in my business. um,
We find a couch.
yeah, exactly.
tell you what
Get a
to
coach.
do.
I'm like, what am I doing? So when that happened, we've been praying about it. And then my boss was just like, look, out of all the developers, you kind of have things going on. You'll figure out. So just work the whole month or don't work for the whole month of May, but I'll pay you for it. And you just go figure out what you're going to do. And at that time, it was a hard decision, but also kind of felt like it was a good, like, kick out the door, like, hey, go do this on your own. And
Yeah.
we walked right into that. So I spent about a year and I flipped some houses, lost some money, made some money. I owned like 5 houses on my street at one point, and then like sold some off to church friends and, started an Airbnb, sold an Airbnb. Uh, and that time was like a lot of struggle. Like, what are we doing? How do we make the next moves? And I'd heard of Pace Morby before, like I'd watched his stuff
Mhm.
and never thought like, a lot of people like, oh, I feel like it's a scam and something like that. And I was like, I never really thought that. I was just like, oh, some interesting real estate stuff. And they reached out to me, somebody from Gator, which is all about like the money movement, money lending kind of side of things.
Mm.
And I was like, that sounds really fun. I think I could do really well at that. At the time, I had already been in the Land Hacker group with Kai Andrew and now Rob Abasalo and Host Camp. So I was Airbnb centric. And I wanted to build like a bigger complex of Airbnbs. But Greenville County zoning is ridiculous. And it was really hard to do some of the creative things we want to do. And I just didn't know how to make it happen. So we just didn't do anything with that. So I got to this other coaching program. I was like, another one, should I do it? And we finally jumped into it. And that was probably another major pivotal point in the community that I now worked with, the things that I was learning. I basically, because I was already working for myself, I spent 2 weeks just watching all the videos. I did everything. Pace even there, I was like, if anybody like bought the hat and t-shirt, that was me, because he's like, oh, if somebody told me what would I do now, if I had to like start all over, I would go out there, find a hard money lender, white label them at these real estate events because I see them like cleaning house and getting all the deals. Then I would just like white label that person and then get a QR code and get pacesmoney.com and put a QR code on my shirt and show up at all the events. So I did that. I got chatismoney.com. I got a big QR code on my hat and back of my shirt. I went to the real estate meetups. I already had white labeled hard money and just went out there and did that. And it was, just a change in everything I was doing. I did credit stacking and lending and gap lending and EMD and transactional and infinite banking policies, all these like interesting ways to like structure how money moves.
Mhm.
And then I come to Squat Up Summit for Pace, which is like his whole community, sub 2 Gator, top tier TC and Owners Club. And at that point, I joined Owners Club there. And that was another like major shift with the types of people, because there were some rooms in that community that was like, people appreciate who I was or what I was doing. But once you joined Owners Club, they're like, oh, we're going to talk to this person. And like, you're part of a different circle, a different team. And
Is that like the upper class of those groups you just said? Like they're more like intentional, like this person's serious about this. It's like a
correct.
side job. It's
Yeah.
they're all in on this.
Sub 2 Gator, top tier, like I don't know that there's any caps on how many people can be in that. They might close it briefly and open it back up, but there's like 20,000 people in that or more. I don't even know. And that's like a one and done. You pay for it and like you're in.
Mhm.
But Owners Club is a yearly commitment of paying either all together or a quarterly basis.
Mhm.
And I like to say it's like a self-curating room, because the pressure and the heat in there is a lot higher when you're operating with these people, because there's not a single person that stays in it that isn't doing like a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
like really intentional.
Yes.
And also there's the cost commitment. So it's, self-curating,
Yes.
the right people in the right room. It's very
Yes.
important. But that was like another big pivotal moment. So, but during that course, I'd gotten options to buy some properties on Main Street Taylors,
Mhm.
started acquiring those. And that kind of set the direction of, we want to redevelop a small town being our town, because we want our town to be awesome. And opened up with like fire, like, we're going to go build this miniature golf and pizza restaurant, all this fun stuff. And people were like, that is super cool. The market needs that, but we don't know who you are. We're not going to give you any money.
Okay.
And that shifted my direction now to where I, recouping some of the losses from that stabilizing the business, figuring out what to do because we want to build out a family office unit. We want to get to where we have the experience in development. So when we go back to these things, people say, yes, we're going to invest in this. We're going to make this happen because you have the experience of, you're well-rounded enough to procure those things. So it's kind of what the trajectory I'm on right now is, building up those assets, balancing everything, getting liquidity, the right experience, the notches in the belt, partnering with the right people to build that out and then go back at it.
Wow. That was awesome. That's been, what I think one of my biggest takeaways from everything you've said is, if you said 20s were summarized in like a couple minutes and then 20, 7, 28, kind of like again, another big block. But like, I think COVID to like last 5, 6 years have been intense.
Mhm.
And there's even been bigger shifts in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like when did you do the owners thing?
That was March this year.
Okay, so that was the most specific thing you said.
Incubator was July last year.
Okay, so March was like what 6, 7 months ago,
Yeah.
and you're here today. So I think that's one of my goals as a entrepreneur. The stagnancy is repulsive, intolerable. Like we can't just be coasting through life. Like it's the constant sort of growth, development, leadership,
Mhm.
influence. Those have been some buzzwords for me recently. Even with my health, but just how I kind of show up to the circles that I'm already in. Um, that's been something that I'm excited to not just show up like here, check the box, I showed up today, but like, influence and serving and leading in ways.
Mhm. Mhm.
So thank you for unpacking that for us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think that really helps give our audience too. I mean, you said things that probably blew past the minds in regards to like the sub twos and pace, but like you're curious, you're not afraid to get out there. And then when you do go to something, like I like that you basically were like, I'm the poster child for this thing. I bought into it and sounds like there's no regrets in that.
No,
All right.
absolutely not. Like, did everything pan out? No, of course not. Like it's when when I was talking with one of my friends, Anne, she's working on redeveloping a small town in Florida.
Okay.
And I was like, man, and I feel so bad that I couldn't pull off Taylor Station or this or that. And she's like, think about what Pace does or any high level person. How many things do you think they launch? How many campaigns? How many new initiatives? How many new developments? And how many of those do you hear about later? What happened to it? It's like, yeah, when I think about this program or that thing or that thing, I was like, I don't really know if it like turned out well. Some of them do, some of them don't. She's like, it's all market research. That's all sales is. It's just market research. You just figure out how to sell that thing. And in this case, like you're selling yourself for, pitching out being a developer
Mhm.
of which you're not at the moment. Like that's
Mhm.
not how you do the project. You got to do it a different way. I was like, yeah, it's definitely uh, when you get into real estate, because you'd mentioned this, like it's not a thing that you can do working for yourself to just coast. Because I wanted to do that. I wanted to like, oh well, if we buy this many Airbnbs, we can feed the kids and we can do these vacations and whatever. And
And it just stops, all right? And then just
well,
let it all take care of itself.
inflation and this and that, and then oh, dental, like like
Right.
all the little things in life add up,
Right.
and market changes, and even you as a person, and you find out there's a better place. Like I would go to a lot more. You were mentioning about leadership and authority and being really who you should be, your authentic self, is unlocking. Like you have so much potential. Some of the affirmations that we did at one of the mindset coaches says in the morning, you're supposed to say, "I'm an infinite being with unlimited potential." And like as a Christian, I feel like really weird about like, breath work, meditations, mindset stuff. But I come into it and I was like, this is actually kind of true. Like God's given us like a massive ability. And I shied away from that for a long time, but I always felt the weight of in the Bible when it talks about the rich man goes away and gives talents to different people.
Mhm.
And like the people who have more are supposed to do more. And
Mhm.
people who have less, like even do something with that, even if you feel like you're one of those people who has so little, which is a ridiculous statement because I know people with like no legs and they're changing the world. So,
Right.
I mean, what excuse do any of us have?
Right.
And I'm over here. I'm like, I got a full, healthy body. I got money. I got like kids, family, wife, healthy marriage, house. Like, I got all this stuff, education, background, this, all these things. And I'm like, I feel this weight. I should be doing more
Yeah.
and making like I can, and not saying like, oh, I'm going to go out there and grind and hustle. It's like, but we have so much to offer the
Mhm.
world to impact. And so, yeah, unlimited potential is definitely in there. There's like a true, authentic version of who you are to be, to impact, change the world. And obviously, when it comes down to it, you and I both know about our faith
Mhm.
and how the gospel is centric to that. It's like, I'm not just doing this stuff for fun. Like, sure, yeah, I am. I do like, creating, building. It's fun.
Right.
It's definitely part of an internal aspect of me, which I
Yes.
think is a reflection of God as creator.
Yes.
But, the core root of it is like for the love of souls and bringing them to Christ still.
I that's a great transition actually, because I'm gonna be going into the personal life now
Yes.
in the family life. And I don't think I've even asked you this. How old are you?
I am 37.
Okay, which is so am I. So we are the exact same person.
There
No,
we
just
go.
kidding. Which is great.
We both invest in Taylors. We're both 37.
Yeah, it's like you're my twin here. No, that's really good, Chad. And I think this is a topic that is really uh, I'm passionate about it, but I also feel like I don't know if I've landed in a certain place. It's like I'm kind of like wrestling in this topic of impact, utilizing your time. I mean, I think your words are changing the world and not but and taking care of your family. So that's really the crux of the show. It's why I started is because I feel like there's this tension. The new word I like is harmony
Mhm.
instead of like work life balance, which I like. I hate those that's saying. I hate like work life balance. How do you make sure everything's good? Um, a work life harmony where you're not a different person out there when you come home. Um, I think one of the truest measures that we can uh, look at our own lives is, how's my relationship with my wife?
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's she knows you,
And that's a hard one when you work for yourself. Like, it's one thing if you work for somebody else, but when the business owns you, you
Yes.
know it.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I mean, I can even say this morning was, there were some struggles of
yeah.
just like, me affirming my wife to like, I love you, I care about you, I see you. So let me ask you, amidst the journey, and there's seasons for everything. So this isn't, like,
Yeah.
you're always again the key the term is I think is harmony. So it's like are they working together? So give us how that's looked because I mean you have like tell us about how many kids you have and then I know the answer to that, but I want to set you up to it. And just some of those struggles and maybe even some stories that have uh showed you and showed, your values to wanting to do great things and also being a great dad, a great husband.
Yeah. Um, mm, I think most recently it comes down to mindset, what I mentioned before. When I was at a recent mindset, if you want to look up Matt Peckman, Poechman, and then his wife, Tamar. I don't actually know how to spell her last name, Schleister or something. But my mindset, mind method is what they're called. And they did a recent thing. And like I said, prior to that, like being Christian and be like, oh, all this hippy dippy, stuff. And who knows, like fuzzy things, vibrations, manifestation. I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, it's scary, especially from a Christian perspective. But like,
Yes.
um, what they laid out for like there's some science level of it where you're like, I've done some light study in physics and quantum and like how atoms are tied together and you know they're with me you look at like double slit experiments with light and stuff is all connected. And they're going to talk in there about how your future self is reflecting back on who you are. And so that's where the manifesting idea comes from, that like who you are and all the parts of it like all connected through time. And I actually had somebody else, another scientist who's connected with some of the local organizations here at one of our churches was like, oh yeah, like he believes like the future versions of ourselves are praying for ourselves now to succeed. And when I look at all that, I was like, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that. But what really struck me is when you look at vibrations and manifestation, being your authentic self, there's a part of you that resonates when somebody walks into the room and you can tell that's the kind of person I want to be. And some piece of that, there's a little reflection in there. You're like, that's a part in you that needs to be ignited. And so we did this practice where we just sat, closed our eyes, and we just thought about somebody coming into the room, like the person that we really want to be. And when people look at manifesting, they always feel like, oh, if I just talk about Lamborghinis all the time, then I'll get a Lamborghini. If I just focus on getting a Lamborghini, it's like, no, we need to focus on the person that has the thing that you want, or, in this case, a very superficial Lamborghini. We'll use that one. But even if it's like somebody who has a healthy marriage or money in the bank or kids and like a family life or like travel, whatever it is, you put yourself in the shoes, see them walk into the room and see how they act, how they interact with people. And then you step into that person. It's like, how does that person think? How do they believe? Because that you need to tap into that version of yourself and you can walk into that every day if you set the right intentions. And so I think that moment, or I know that moment, like really impacted me going through that. And not saying that I succeed in it every day because, sometimes you wake up and just life is just boom, like right out the door, you got a billion things to do. So I make a point to make sure I wake up in the morning, I do breath work, I do some workout, like those things to reset my mind and like focus on what am I trying to accomplish today? Who am I trying to impact? Who am I being today? And that all plays into your family life and your business, of course, as well. And so setting that intention right at the beginning of the day, how you're going to interact with your family, because that also like changed the way I do my mornings. I'm not the best at this yet, is when I get up and I do all my stuff, if I start working, then I spend about an hour with my family. I eat breakfast, lunch, dinner with them every day. And if I've already done some work, it's hard to like be present. I think that's the biggest part of business because there's always fires burning back there. And you need to put that out and say, like, I'm not going to do any work in those first hours. It's just going to be about like thinking, meditating, praying, being focused for the day, being intentional about being with my family when I'm with them. There's that old story of the guy who every time comes home from work was hard, but he has a hanging tree and he like puts his hand on the tree and prays and leaves all his worries on the tree and then walks to the house. He's just like completely different person. If you can be that kind of person, like you're gonna be really successful at being present and with your family. So all I'd say, I have 4 kids. We're expecting a 5th in February. So and they're all young. It's a lot of work. um, and especially for what we want out of life and what we're doing. Uh, I love traveling. My wife and I love traveling. We went to Hawaii for our 10-year anniversary. And that's something we've been planning for a long time. I can't say it was like the financially best time to do it, but quick excerpt on that is that there there was a dip in all the bank accounts. Like I had no money. I couldn't pay this. I could pay one of my cards, like just didn't the payment didn't go through. So Amex went through and like cut a bunch of my credit limits. And I saw this all happen because somebody like delayed payment to me on something for one of our debts. And it's like, ooh, it's like I don't need to tell my wife about this. Like there's no reason to stress her because I already know like all this is gonna rectify itself or everything's coming in. But at the moment it's like I'm here on our anniversary trip. Like that's not as important as like being present and being part of this. Now, did I run my wife ragged, driving all over the island of Maui? Yes, we saw everything, probably more than she wanted to, because I'm like really bad at vacationing. I'm like I don't want to sit on a beach. I want to go like explore. So,
Okay.
but that like is a story of even if those hard things are always going to be there, like things are going to happen in your business. Dan Martell talks about that with Richard Branson, like being on a ski trip with him. His assistant says like, oh yeah, like, this happened and now we've lost like 3 million or $10 million. And Brent's like, all right, let's go skiing. And Dan's like, you just lost all the money. It's like, it already happened. It doesn't matter at this point. Like, I'm here for you guys and with this and like walk on with your day. And that's gonna, like, if he can lose that much money, we could definitely lose like a lot less and be present with our families and active. And, you can talk about business stuff and systems and processes and people to handle that. But really staying focused with your family and being intentional is like a huge priority. And when you have this many kids and even you with your amount of kids, you have to be careful with your time and with your focus. I can't say I'm the best at it,
Right.
because I'm the kind of person who, if you put me anywhere, I'm just like thinking of ideas and it doesn't matter what it's about. So I'm always like wanting to make stuff. We had fun making an Instagram video the other day with my kids and just went around and like they dressed up as like ghosts with their
I saw
cases
that
and the
one.
glasses and so
I saw that one.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
My wife says the same thing about not wanting to have their faces on. I mean, because there's so much goodness gracious, you could find just all sorts of terrible things with like
Yeah.
identity theft and whatever, your kids' innocence and whatever else. So no, I love it when we can bring our family into our business. Not in like a I don't know, like go to work with daddy day, but like you're giving them like life lessons. They're also enjoying it. You're getting stuff done, marketing. Um, so well done on that.
Yeah, thanks. It's a lot of fun. I would say like um the hardest parts about a home life is the stuff that needs to be done to maintain it.
Mhm.
And that's a discussion I have with my wife a lot about. I'm like listening. I was in Dan Martell's coaching program for a little bit, and his is all about like buy back your time. He has like a
Right.
housekeeper and a person who like handles this, like
Right.
cleaning their house and all these different things. And we're not at that point. But I'm working on systems. I have an assistant who manages my business, and I'm like, I see my wife was really busy with homeschool and meal planning and like trying to do her business and this thing and that thing. And I was like, I'm running my business in a way that I'm trying to step aside and let other people do things for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan always talks about this like 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to come in at the beginning, set the agenda, what we're trying to do, and then come at the end, like tidy up and put the bow on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get to that in your business, you can most certainly do it in your house. And the hardest part is probably going to be I'm going to break off from the men and being a dad for a minute for the women. Especially as a Christian, I don't know, like I grew up in fundamental circles. And so there's a lot of rhetoric around that, like women wear pants and women are the home keepers and they need to do this and take care of the children, all this stuff. And not the wearing pants, but yes, homekeeper is true. And or not wearing pants or whatever, but like the taking care of the home, they want to be like, oh, women need to do all these tasks. And a lot of women feel that pressure. I need to do all the things,
Mm-hmm.
which, men can also feel that in other ways. And they're just limiting beliefs that aren't true about you need to be the one doing the thing. We feel it in our business where like, we have to step there. I have to be the one digging the shovel or else nobody else is going to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, will they do it exactly the way you do it? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
But will it get done? Yeah. Like, what's the intention here? What's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're looking at buying back your time, I think for women, when we look at the Bible, a lot of the times the preachers be like, Proverbs 31, look at this woman. She's wise and caring. I was like, this lady is out there buying businesses and property and people are running her household and she's just managing it. And like other people are doing that. I was like, why don't we talk about that part about it in God's word? And I think Christianity generally has this problem with money when they talk about it, especially when it comes to, business and in the household. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do all the work. Life is hard. Money's evil and be careful. And it's like, well, you're put here to do amazing things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like that's going to be you driving a Lamborghini. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a lot more out of life that you can impact people with and do and grow in.
Mm-hmm.
And you enabling other people to come into your business or into your home provides them the ability to see how you live and impact them and provide them with jobs and other meaningful things. So take that to an actual thing. My assistant is like the amount of meal planning that it takes my wife, like just go through like what we have, pick the recipes. I
Right.
just took pictures of all our recipes, gave it to my assistant. I was like, I want you to take over meal planning. Still have yet to like get my wife's permission on this because it's really hard for women to not feel that pressure of they need to be doing it and nobody else can do it right.
Right.
I 100% understand that. But I would ideally have it on Mondays. My assistant will have the plan, be like, here's the plan. This is the week. She already has access to all our calendars. She knows what's going on. My wife could be like, okay, can we adjust this, this, this?
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll put in the order for the food. It'll show up on Wednesday. The other part of that I'm working on is a housekeeper to just kind of come clean the house once a week. And also be there when the groceries come in to unpack them and put them away.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other things. I've been saving up money in one of our lending accounts for an au pair to help us work with kids. That's probably the hardest sell.
Okay.
Is having another person around all the time to help with childcare because especially women like feel it's their responsibility
Mm-hmm.
more so than men.
Mm-hmm.
And having somebody else like raise your kids, like they're just assistant. Like there's no person in the Bible when you look at some of these people who don't have other people. Like they lived with their families,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're in a society where everybody lives in their own compound and has their own setup, and they don't live with anybody, and they feel like they have to do anything. It's like you don't have to. You should be working with your family. We don't live anywhere near our family, so get that help.
Right.
But then you can bring in hired help to help assist with that.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm vouching for working on is the systems, because when it comes down to it, the one thing that you can't replace, you can replace everything else. When I pack for vacation, it's like, if I forgot it, who cares? We can buy it when we get there.
Right.
You lose money, you can make money, but you cannot replace time. And that is way more vital. And so I'd like to take those systems into my house with my wife's permission, working on that, be like, let's offload some of this so that when we get to the evenings or the times together, we aren't like, there's more laundry to do. And we're just like working all the time. And you can have a side conversation about chores and stuff. We do talk about that, like teaching
Right.
good work ethic. But I don't think good work ethic comes from just digging ditches and like having hard labor. I think it's about also being wise and creative. Because, like, would I want my kids to be really good and strong at digging holes, or would I want them to be wise and kind?
Hmm.
For me, I'd rather them be wise, kind, creative, and a bunch of other things,
Hmm.
especially the world we're going into, which is heavily AI, heavily creative, heavily robotic, like based industries.
Right.
I'd rather them be those things than somebody who's like, I can just sweat all day and, do something really manual. It's like there's good things in that, but I think the same amount of work, I may sit in front of a computer and run Excel sheets and do stuff. And somebody, in a coal mine might feel like that's easy, but I'm doing just as much work and creating as much value and productivity as they are. And I don't see any difference. I think you can teach your kids, a good work ethic and compassion and wisdom and kindness, creativity. And that's going to far outweigh being
Hmm.
somebody who's like, oh, well, my kids, I make them do all these like grueling tasks all the time. So,
No, I mean, I think what we're talking about here is margin. And I mean, you're saying, hey, we can't replace time. That's one of the themes on the show, time. It's one of my core values is like time, the importance of time, fleetingness of time, the limited resource of time. But let's just say you have all this time. Well, what are you going to do with it? Right. So then,
mhm.
I mean, that's sort of a whole other conversation is like, well, do you work more? Gonna teach your kids how to do something? Are you going to be with your wife? Like, there's all these things. So let me ask you this. Okay. So, one of my jobs is creating passive income for my investors. So they're busy spinning their wheels on whether as a self-employed business owner, maybe a high-level salesman who travels a lot. So they're in their zone, yet they're trying to maybe get some passive income to rather like dial it back and have more margin. So or do more, I guess, work if you want. But give me that mindset as you so this is kind of going back to work now because you're working, you said capital and working with investors and hard money. How could we allow people who are listening right now who feel like I don't have any time to begin with, man? Like, hey, well, let's plant a seed of like investing in real estate as like a way to get some more time.
Yeah. I think for myself, first is again that mindset and showing up as the right person in the world.
Mm,
And otherwise, you can have all the best pitches,
right,
be a salesman, but if you come across as sleazy or untrustworthy or not with the right, intentions,
right.
nobody's gonna be investing with you. Um, and then on the actual passive side of it and like time side of it, how do you buy that? There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a great story. And that is a great way to look at it, where the main character, who I can't remember his name, like Arksad or something, like he is telling his friends, is like, you can be in my position too, as like, it looks like I just have all this extra time. It's because when I was working, I realized these other people who had money, they were lending out to other people, investing in other businesses, making other things happen. And we all go to them for that, to be the bank or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And I realized if I stopped, just throwing my money at paying everybody else first, then if I started with paying and setting aside some for myself, it's essentially the same JL Collins Simple Path to Wealth or any other Dave Ramsey thing where it's like, if you put money into the stock market, if you're the fire movement, whatever it is, it's like set money aside that can grow. And, that will buy you the most time. Of course, you talk about investments and what to be involved in.
Hmm.
It's like the value of your money growing does buy your time. Um,
Exactly.
so if you can get to a point where you realize that, then you can put it into action. I think, what's his name? Mr. Money Mustache in the fire movement, he talks about that anybody, no matter how much you make, can retire in 7 years, no matter what job you have. And the premise is that if you take, I think it's essentially a combo of scaling back your life and then investing more of it. And he has like these set stocks that he invests in, index funds. And I believe it's 80% of your income. You want to get like above 50% of your income going towards that and scale yourself so you're living on a much smaller margin.
Hmm.
So that after 7 years, that flip of the switch there is now that you've been doing that, that money, 80%, will pay you how much you were living on already up to that point based on like these set rates of returns and certain withdrawals that you can now retire for the rest of your life based off of just index. Mm. So you just have to like understand some basic principles of how the economy works and what kind of investments there are, and just figure out what the life you're willing to live now and what the life you want to live then. You can also do the Dave Ramsey thing and like live like nobody else now, live like everybody else later. But
Right.
you and I both know, being in the millennial generation, nobody likes that. Well, I'm going to wake up when I'm 65 or 70 and finally have money and get to retire and did do stuff. And it's like, well, your body can't handle some of the things you're thinking about doing right now. Even at this age, I'm like, that looks risky. And I really wanted to do that before, but now I'm a little, it's risky. So I think you have the greatest time in the world to like ever make money incredibly fast. And I'm not talking about like, oh, just go invest in Bitcoin or this scheme or that thing.
Mm.
I think it's Bitcoin. But
Fast being 7 years.
yeah,
Uh,
even 7 years. Yeah.
yeah.
And I know people can do it even shorter because if you read Think and Grow Rich, the main thing is, you know, figuring out what it is you want. I think that's the thing that holds everybody back
Mm.
is they just don't know what they want. And if you can't present, if you listen to the manifesting vibration group, they'll be like, most people go into life and they tell the universe just responds to what you want. Obviously, I think it's a lot of other different things than just, you know, the molecules in the air, but it just responds to what you're telling it that you want. And a lot of people walk through life, oh, I want this thing now. I want that thing now. Oh, somebody told me about this new cool thing and I want that. And they don't really know. So you can't make enough progress on it. And my wife was even telling me, she was like, I watched a Cody Sanchez video and they're like, oh, the most successful people are, what was it, obsessed about something, which I'd all say like very passionate about a one thing that you should be doing.
Yes.
And you just need to focus down, know what you want, know who you are, what you're trying to accomplish. And it doesn't have to be the thing you do for the rest of your life.
Right.
Like you just have to get really good at one thing and tell that one story and focus on that one thing. And the amount of time is really short. We always overestimate what we can do in a short amount of time and underestimate what we can do over the long time. And I'm not telling you you're going to become incredibly wealthy or super successful in 1 month, but a few years.
Hmm.
Most people, like look at a lot of the really big companies out there that, you know, it didn't take that much time. Like in our lifetime, how many companies have started and become massive multi-billionaire corporations? Like, I don't know, Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram and all those other ones, like digital companies. You have access to so much technology and robotics to build literally anything you can think of.
Hmm.
Just go figure out what it is you want to do and just go do it. So
Yeah.
I'm just like
That's great.
tangents.
No, that's great. To wrap it up, Chad, I'm going to ask you for one more nugget. I'm
Okay.
going to say, this is a question I personally enjoy asking, and I don't even know if I prepped you for it, but it's what our dad's missing that you feel like, rather, in your circles, because we can compare ourselves to these like Alex Hormozis or, who are these like really powerful individuals, but they're not dads. So I like to sort of have that cross section of like, hey, the dads out there, where are you seeing um, us missing it and how and maybe you're missing it too, so like a struggle or, something that you just say, "Hey, if we fix this, I think it would be world would be a better place."
Yeah.
So the question is, what do you see dads missing right now, and, how can it be solved?
I'd say community support, like within these touchy political, theological, all those different things that are going on when you see the feminist movement and rights movements on different categories. A lot of it is targeting the family unit.
Mhm.
And when you see out of World War One and Two, where there was a lot of family unit breakdowns
Mhm.
and dads stepping aside and women taking over more of the direction there, men didn't have to lead. And I think there's two parts of that is one, society is telling you they don't really want you to do that. Like men, step aside. So there's that undercurrent that I've seen online where a lot of people are talking about it, where like uh if there was like any category of people that generally could say like, "Hey, I feel hurt or I have a problem," and everybody tell them to shut up, it'd probably be men in general. But like, "Hey, life's kind of hard over here," but like, "Life's harder for us over here." You probably see that a lot online, and I think a lot of men resonate with that. So and you're starting to see like a little bit of communities that are trying to push for change in those areas. And it's not something I'm going to take a banner on it like for anything. I just mention that in light of you need to have community support with other dads and work through how are you being intentional with your kids? What are the things you're teaching on? And be also, gracious with other people when they do it differently.
Mhm.
Um, because it's very easy for people nowadays to be like, oh, they're different than me, like hate them. So
Right.
you see that a lot online, but especially in our circles, um, I think it's just the community sport. Probably that's like you're saying, that's something that I feel that I'm missing sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, because I want to spend time with other dads. Obviously, like have business driven kind of things.
Yeah.
People in our circles, it would be really nice to have more of that kind of sports, or like meeting you and other guys like that. Because we're all really busy, so we don't have as much time to, you know, like I played golf at one of our retreats. I've never played golf, and I was like, I can see why people do this. It's like quiet, and you're just out here. Like this is really nice, and so like having time for you, but then also again with your kids too, like showing up with your kids and showing other people how you interact and having fun together. I think those are probably community and family community time.
Hmm.
They're probably some core problems or things that we're missing right now.
Yeah. No, great answer. Part of why I started the show is
Yeah.
like, I want to, at least create a space where someone feels like I'm cheering them on amidst their struggles of growing a business or whatever it is they're doing, to say, hey, show up for your kids, show up for your wife. These things matter.
Mhm.
So great answer. Thank you. Chad, if our audience wanted to connect with you, whether online or whatever, what's the best way to connect with you to find out more what you're up to?
My website, chadchoquette.com.
Okay.
That's it.
I'll put it in the show notes because your last name threw me
It's
for a
French
curveball.
Canadian, so it's hard.
Chad, thanks so much for joining us today, buddy.
Thank you.